Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum, the refreshing, delicious treat that gives you chewing enjoyment, presents for your listening enjoyment Edmund O'Brien as
Johnny Dollar.
George Donnelly, Swanson Industrial, Johnny. Afraid we're having engine trouble.
Come again?
We got a substantial policy on the Belo Horizonte Railroad in Brazil, both equipment and personnel. It's only a small road, but our losses in the past few months have been extensive.
What happened?
4 locomotives piled up in 2 months, 20 dead. We got a pair of conflicting reports. Looks like either insurance fraud or murder.
With my luck, George, it's probably both.
the makers of Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum bring you Edmund O'Brien in another adventure of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
To make every day more enjoyable, treat yourself often to refreshing, delicious Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. Here's a taste treat you can enjoy indoors, outdoors, at work, or at play. The cool, long-lasting mint flavor refreshes you. The smooth, steady chewing helps keep you fresh and alert. Adds enjoyment to whatever you're doing. Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. Healthful, refreshing, delicious.
Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Swanson Industrial Insurance Corporation of Hartford. Attention, George Donnelly. The following is an accounting of my expenditures during investigation of the Belo Horizonte Railroad matter. Expense account item 1, $500.38, transportation Hartford to New York to Rio de Janeiro. I found the executive offices of the railroad, all right. Avenue Graca Aranya, 392. But I didn't find the president, Mr. Benjamin J. Hulley. Reason? They'd taken him to the hospital that afternoon. A nurse at the Santa Maria told me that Benjamin Hulley had left strict orders that the minute I came in, I should be admitted to his room. I found him propped up in a bed. There was the smell of alcohol and boiled milk.
Ulcers. Peptic or duodenal, they don't know. Nobody knows. The end product of acid indigestion. Insurance? You'll have ulcers, too.
Probably.
It starts with heartburn, then annoying pain before meals, then all of a sudden you've got them. The disease of the businessman.
Hey, maybe we'd better postpone our talk for a while.
Now, what's the difference whether I think about it or talk about it? This way I get it out of my system. Otherwise, it eats at me. Consider yourself a treatment.
Well, we'll cut it short.
I can give you a condensed version. 4 locomotives, 20 dead. But what am I giving you this for? You've got reports.
2 of them. One said accidental. The other said equipment had been tampered.
Ridiculous. Accidental. How could it possibly be accidental? 4 in 2 months.
Easy, Mr.
4
Hulley,
in 2 months.
Easy.
Listen to the facts. One engine caved in a wooden trestle over the Rio das Varas. A trestle that had held up for almost a half-century. 2 dead. Only cabin tender, luckily, could have been a freight. Another derailed and bombed a statue. 2 more collided off a siding a few miles west of the port of Vittorio. Accidental, my foot. Who sent you the accidental report?
Myers, Henry Myers, foreman of the roundhouse at Belo Horizonte.
That stupid, moronic, idiotic, blundering fool?
You're going to pop something carrying on like this, Mr. Hulley. If you don't calm down, I'm going to get kicked out of here.
Don't treat me like a baby. I know what I'm doing. Now, I meant to write a personal letter to Mr. Donnelly thanking him for the checks. They were prompt, very prompt. Your company's to be complimented.
We'd rather be informed. Just what kind of a railroad do you run, Mr. Hulley?
Manganese. Nothing but manganese. A little bauxite, but not enough to cover the bottom of a gondola car. Manganese is our load. And if you ask me, that's the trouble right there.
Where?
Peter Yaradan.
Who's Peter Yarada?
He's beyond description, Mr. Dollar. The greediest, trickiest man I've ever known. I haul manganese for a competitor. At first, he tried to buy me out. I wouldn't sell. Then he used other methods. He spread vicious rumors about Belo Horizonte Railroad stock being worth it. It almost ruined me.
How about the crashes? Any evidence that someone tampered with the machinery?
No, none. Whatever proof might have existed would have been destroyed in the crash. Which is exactly why I suspect Yarradan. Why, with this railroad in his hands, he'd control the entire market down here.
Well, I think I've taken up enough of your time, Mr. Holly.
Mr. Dollar, I'm an old man. I've worked very hard. I started as an engineer with this railroad 25 years ago. Worked myself up to the presidency. Whatever this road is, I've made it. And I'd be everlastingly grateful if you put Yarradan just where he belongs, behind bars.
My job is investigation, not prosecution, Mr. Holly.
Take my word, Mr. Dollar, it's Yarradan.
Well, before I go any further, I'd like to talk to this Myers, the foreman in Belo Horizonte.
Yes, very wise. It's about 400 miles north. I'll have a car and driver waiting for you in the morning.
Sika. That is what my mother has named me. I do not know why. Perhaps after a pig or a cow. My mother named all her children after animals. It is what you might call nickname. Of course, nicknames are terrible things. They stick to you like paste. You like the way I drive?
Ah, you drive swell.
Swell?
Good, fine, great.
Oh, no, not that. The compliments are too much. Maybe fine, perhaps good, but not great. Why you go to Belo Horizonte, Mr. Dollar?
Business?
You're silly. You're silly. You think you can keep your business from me? You think you're hiding something in the state of Minas Gerais? You're foolish to try.
Then why am I going to Belo Horizonte?
Your name is Johnny Dollar. You investigate people for an insurance company. You are here by the engine crashes. You are going up to see Mr. Myers, who worked for Mr. Holly. You will find nothing. Is that enough?
Why did you find out these bits of information?
What? Around the town.
How do you know I won't find anything?
A brilliant mind. A gift from my father, who also had a brilliant mind. Tell me, do I really look like a driver?
Why? What are you supposed to be?
This is merely a costume. I am in reality a poet, philosopher, a seventh son.
Say, can't you make this thing go faster, Seventh Son?
Americans. Through the mountains faster. You're crazy. That is why you make so much money, and that is why Americans have ulcers.
Just a second. Yeah?
My name is Dollar, Mrs. Myers.
Yeah.
From Hartford, Connecticut, insurance investigator. I'd like to talk to your husband, if I may.
He ain't here.
When do you expect him?
I don't know. Is it about the wreck?
That's right.
Well, I don't know if it'd be right to ask you or not.
Well, it's up to you. I'm not from the police, you know.
I suppose it'd be all right.
Thanks.
He's shaving.
Oh, I got plenty of time.
Saturday Evening Post just coming from the States, if you'd like to see it.
Oh, fine, thanks.
And there's caramels on the table.
Never touched the stuff.
I'd like you to know, Mr.
Dollar.
Yeah. Well, I'd like you to know Henry don't know a thing about this business.
I just wanted to ask him some questions about the accident report he sent into our office.
He wrote what he seen, and that was all he wrote.
I wouldn't be concerned, Mrs. Myers.
And no matter what anybody says, Henry had no more to do with the busted pins in them rods than the man in the moon. He checked before it went out of the yard, and he checked just before... Uh-oh.
Said enough. Get into the kitchen.
I didn't say nothing to him.
Go on.
I didn't say a thing.
She talks a lot. Dollar, did you say? That's right.
She talks a great deal for a woman her age. Her parents let her gab all the time. Have a caramel?
No, thanks. Say, what's this about busted pins?
Yeah, she mouths.
Come on, Myers. If you've got nothing to hide, there's no sense of evading the questions.
The pins were sawed. Somebody, I don't know. I should have checked them before they left the yard, but I didn't.
That's why you reported the crashes as accidental?
All right, I was scared. A man gets scared for his job.
How do you know about the busted pins?
After the wreck, one of the guys told me.
You mean somebody knew the pins were broken, and he let the engine leave the yards?
Yeah.
Who? Come on, Myers. Who?
You'll have to find that out yourself, Dollar.
You're in plenty of trouble, Myers.
I told you all I'm going to tell you. Now get out of here.
Okay. But if you change your mind, I'll be at the San Carlos Hotel.
I'll remember that.
The San Carlos. All day.
If you sit here in your room all day, Mr. Dollar, you do not have the benefit of the sunshine which plays so gently upon the soil.
I'm waiting for a call, Seeker.
Are you certain you would not like another game of Monopoly?
No, you won.
Yes, company, you are dull.
Sorry.
If it were not orders, I would go back home.
Yeah?
If I insulted you, would you fight with me?
Oh, too tired.
Even if I call you a coward and a thief?
Names will never hurt me.
Well, if I...
Johnny Dollar.
This is Henry Myers, Dollar. Be over here in 5 minutes. I'll give you the stuff you want.
Don't move, I'll be there.
You was Myers?
He feels talkative. Come on, let's go.
How did you know he would call?
I didn't.
Then why were you waiting?
What else could I do?
The American mind. Shrewd.
Here. Let me off at the next corner.
All right.
And pick me up in about a quarter of an hour.
No. I go in with you.
All right, come on then.
Do not run so fast. Oh, my Aunt Pete.
Pooped.
Pooped, Pete.
No answer.
Look on the floor.
Myers. Looks like somebody had an earlier appointment.
He's still breathing.
Myers. Who did it, Myers?
Vita. Go to. There, Vita. There.
He's dead. What is Bervida?
Don't look at me, Seeker. I don't speak the language.
Somebody's coming.
It's Mrs. Myers. Come on, Seeker.
Oh, hello. What you been doing? Talking to Henry?
Don't go in there, Mrs. Myers.
Why not? I get poison oak or something? It's my house.
Don't, Mrs. Myers.
It's your husband.
What's the matter with him?
He's dead.
What?
Somebody shot him.
Let me in there.
Mrs. Myers, please.
Henry, I knew they'd do it. I knew they'd get him. I knew it. I knew they'd get him. I knew they'd get him.
Mrs. Myers.
I knew they'd get him.
Who, Mrs. Myers? Who would get him?
Yaradan. Wish I'd never heard the name. Yaradan.
Come on, Mrs. Myers. Now try to remember. What does the word mean to you? Vervita. Is it a town?
I don't know.
A mountain? A person? Oh, try, Mrs. Myers. Your husband must have mentioned the word to you sometime.
Look, if I remembered, I'd tell you, wouldn't I?
Yeah, I suppose. Oh, the police probably secret called about half an hour ago.
Come in.
Mr. Taylor?
Wrong house, Bud.
Oh, permit me to refer to my pad. Oh, D-O-L-L-A-R. Dollar?
That's right.
Oh, good. I was sent to pick you up.
Oh, really? By whom?
No trouble. I am properly armed. The woman and your driver will also come.
Better not argue, Mrs. Myers.
He's the same one who killed Henry. He must be.
Who's your boss, friend?
Yaradan, Mr. Dollar. Peter Yaradan. You may go in now, Mr. Dollar.
How do you do, Mr. Dollar?
Mr. Yaradan?
Correct. Be seated, please. I will send my man for something cool.
No, thanks, but I'm not going to be here long.
You have faith in my tolerance, Mr. Dollar.
In your intelligence, Mr. Yaradan, a man of your reputation should know better than to play with guns.
At times, a man of my reputation has no choice. Careful, Mr. Dollar.
Let's get to the point.
Very well. I hear that your investigation is not progressing very satisfactorily. I thought perhaps arrest might gain you a new perspective.
I doubt it.
Tell me, how is dear Mr. Halley?
He's not so good.
Oh, shit. He tells so many tales that are untrue. He is lucky to be dying of natural causes. Something I hope I should be spared.
Just keep piling up that manganese, Mr. Yaradan, and you won't have to worry.
Is Mr. Halley telling that silly story again?
If you mean the one about your wrecking locomotives and spreading false financial rumors, yes.
Oh, you don't really believe that nonsense, do you?
I'm not paid to believe anything, Mr. Yaradan. I'm like an old hound. I just Follow my nose.
That is not very
You
complimentary.
can take it for what it's worth.
I like you, Dollar. Business-minded, dogged, courage to the point of bravado. You would not consider taking a position with me at, let us say, 3 times your present annual income, would you?
Funny way to offer a man a job, Yarden. With one finger on the trigger.
Well, I would prefer to keep our relationship on this plane until I find out your position.
I'm afraid we wouldn't get along, Yarden.
You are probably right. And it is such a shame, Mr. Dollar. You could have gotten so much more per hour while you were still alive.
To make every day more enjoyable, treat yourself often to refreshing, delicious Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. A lively, full-bodied, real mint flavor cools your mouth, moistens your throat, freshens your taste. And the chewing itself gives you a little lift, helps you keep going at your best. So for real chewing enjoyment that's refreshing and long-lasting, always keep Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum handy. Healthful, delicious Wrigley's Spearmint Gum will make every day more enjoyable. And now, with our star, Edmund O'Brien, we return you to the second act of Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yarden smiled, but this was his living room. He wouldn't do it here. In that small moment of silence, I tried to see everything within my field of vision without taking my eyes from Yarden's face. There was the blur of something metal to my right, something that curved toward the ceiling, something a few inches from my hand. I reached out and pushed it over on top of him. The floor lamp landed on his chest, and the shot went wild. I threw my arms in front of my face and jumped out a latticed window. I landed about 10 feet down in Yarden's rock garden, right in the middle of a clump of stubby cactus. I ran out through the open gate, and I didn't stop running until I found myself at the San Carlos Hotel. Expense account item 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, $30.59 miscellany to tie up the loose ends. For example, telegrams, one to Holly, wishing him better health and asking him for a definition of the word Vervida. 2 more to the police of Bam Despacho and Victoria, requesting reports on the crashes. Another to the company in Hartford, gently hinting at foul play. I wrote a full report of my findings, including names left with the notary public at the hotel, and ambled casually back to the large house of Peter Yarden. Hello, Bud. Well, don't just stand there with your teeth showing. Invite me in. Thank you. Now run to the study like a good little boy and tell your boss he has a caller. Hurry up now.
Put up your hands, Mr. Dollar.
Don't be silly. You don't think I'd come back here without adequate protection? Put that thing away.
Come with me.
Come in.
Mr. Yarden, it's Mr. Dollar.
I'm back. Couldn't leave without getting an apology, Yarden.
This is a surprise seeing you again. All right, Flash, you can go.
But, Mr. Yarden, last time...
It is all right. I will be perfectly safe.
Yes, sir. I will be at the door.
You made a brilliant exit, Mr. Dollar. However, it is a shame I frightened you with my innocent conversation.
Fear comes in handy sometimes, Yarden. It saved my skin a couple of times lately.
You have contacted the police?
Not about you.
You have come alone?
Alone.
You have a remarkable mind, Dollar. Do you think I can allow you to leave this house?
Not only leave this house, mister, but leave with some information.
Remarkable.
I filed a full report, complete with names, places, and time of day. If I'm not back to get that report in 2 hours, it goes to the police department.
And just where did you file this report, Mr. Dollar?
That's the little secret right there.
I am holding 2 friends of yours, you know.
I know.
I would exchange their lives for the report.
I'm sick of your office, Yarden. You're going to release Mrs. Myers and Seeker, and you're going to tell me all about the word Vervida.
How I wish I had a man like you working for me.
Vervida, Yarden.
Of course, Vervida. But what you are really asking is, did I have any part in the railroad matter?
You can answer that one, too.
The answer is no. You don't believe me.
Go on.
The Belo Horizonte Railroad has been on the verge of bankruptcy for 2 years. But Mr. Benjamin Halley is a very stubborn man. I have offered to buy him out 1,000 times.
And he'd rather sell to the devil.
I think he would. You see, the manganese fields in the Minas Gerais are owned by a competitor of mine. A small competitor, but a competitor. These fields are very valuable. At the rate of their present exploitation, however, they make little profit.
Small operation.
Exactly. If I had the fields, I could make them pay, and pay very well. If I owned the railroad, I could boost the freight rates, force my competitor out of business, and take over the fields. But Halley refuses to sell, even at a large profit.
And the crashes?
They should be obvious, especially to you, an insurance man. The railroad is failing. So he is scuttling his equipment and getting the insurance money.
And Bervita?
Hey, if I could get to him, I would have all the information I need to put Halley where he belongs.
Okay, Aaron.
I sense something of disbelief in your tone.
There are other possibilities.
Oh?
Right now, I'll keep them to myself.
Dollar, I will give you $10,000 not to deliver your report.
I'm glad you made that off the air, Evan. That tells me a lot.
Tells you what?
That you've been giving me a nice mixture of fact and fancy. Now bring Sika and Mrs. Myers down here. We're going back to the hotel. Look, Mrs. Myers, whoever he is, wherever he is, his life's in danger. If you don't trust me, you better find somebody real fast, or Mr. Bervita is going to be dead.
Oh, they wouldn't kill him.
He's in somebody's way, or Yaradan wouldn't be that interested.
All right. There was 20 killed in the 4 crashes, Mr. Dollar.
20 dead, that's right.
Yeah, and 1 injured.
Ah? A survivor.
The only witness.
Bervita.
Yeah, Bervita.
Where is he?
Small cabin in the mountains. I'm the only one that knows besides Henry, and Henry's dead. Bervita was fireman on one of the engines that crashed near Victoria. He saw somebody pull the hand switch, so the 2 locomotives was on the same track. The engineer put on the brakes, but not quick enough. Bervita jumped.
Thanks, Mrs. Myers. I think I'll have the notary mail that report on Yaradan to Hartford for safekeeping. Then, Sika, my boy, we're going to pay our respects to Mr. Bervita. You stay here in the hotel, Mrs. Myers.
I want to know who killed my husband.
I'll give you that information when I get back. I'll contact Rio and have Mr. Hulley's secretary put through an authorization for a locomotive and engineer to take me up.
There's a dirt road, Mr. Dollar. Why don't you take a car?
No. I think the locomotive is much faster.
Sika's right, Mrs. Myers. We'll go by rail.
Mr. Dollar.
Yeah?
Would you mind very much if I stayed here in Belo Horizonte? Wife and children, you know.
Well, I never would have put you down as having a family, Sika.
Well, to tell the truth, I don't, but someday I hope to have.
Looking around the next curve. That must be the place. Up ahead. I won't be long. Keep the meter running.
Who is it? My name is Dollar.
What do you want?
I want to talk to you.
Come in. Hands up.
Stay outside, Sika.
For it's late at night. Wolves, foxes.
Stay outside.
What do you want?
I've come all the way up here to ask you a question, Mr. Bervita.
I won't answer anybody's question.
Even for Henry Myers?
What about Henry Meyer?
They killed him.
Good. I'm glad they got him. As much as I hate them, I hate him worse. He was the one who sawed the wheel pins. I'm glad they got him.
And who pulled the switch handle?
I'm not answering any questions. Go away. Go away or I shoot. Go away.
Who is it, Sika?
It's so dark, I couldn't see. He's running toward the engine.
Get that light out. We'll make too good a target at the door.
Yes, come this way.
He's just guessing, Sika.
Yes, but that was a good guess. I could hear it.
Come on, Sika. Let's get down to that engine.
Oh, I wish I had a gun. I wish you had a gun. I wish one of the two of us had a gun. Hey, someone is climbing into the cab. The engine's on a hill. Will not take too long to start. Look, he's got the engineer to the ground. The engine is starting. We'll never get there in time. Stop!
He's going too fast. There's a curve up ahead.
Much too fast.
Look! It can't make the curve.
There is. Well, who could it be, Mr. Dollar? Who could it be? There is nothing left of it, Mr. Dollar. Nothing but twisted pipe.
Look out. Don't touch it, see. Most of it's still at boiling point.
There is no sign of anyone.
Yeah, but there was someone in that cab. Must be a trace of him somewhere around here. Come on, let's keep looking.
But the boiler exploded. You think there is any part of a man in this bunch will wreck you crazy, Mr. Dollar?
See? Look, up there.
Did you find something?
Yeah. There's a wallet. The outside's burned to a crisp.
Can you open?
Well, I can't read the cut. Wait. There's one that isn't burned.
What does it say, Mr. Dollar?
It says, this certifies that the holder is a 25-year member of the Railway Engineers of South America.
And the name? What is the name?
Benjamin J. Hulley, late president of the Bellows Horizonte Railroad. Here's the way it added up. Hulley had come by car. We found it just off the dirt road a mile down from their Vita's shack. The murder of Henry Myers remains an unsolved case. Police assume someone in the employ of Benjamin Hulley pulled the trigger, but I guess they'll never know for sure. Due to my report and public resentment against him, Yarradan was forced to leave the country. The Belo Horizonte Railroad is now in receivership, but it's still hauling manganese from the interior. I might say this was one case that had me stumped right up to train time. Expense account item 7, same as item 1, $500.38. Transportation to New York and Hartford. Expense account total, $1,492.54. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Remember, friends, to make every day more enjoyable, treat yourself often to refreshing, delicious Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. There's lots of cooling, real mint flavor in every stick. And chewing Wrigley's Spearmint helps keep you feeling fresh and alert. You feel better, work better, get more fun out of doing things. So indoors, outdoors, wherever you go, keep some healthful, refreshing Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum handy. To make every day more enjoyable, treat yourself often to delicious Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, brought to you by Wrigley's Spearmint Gum, stars Edmund O'Brien in the title role and is written by Gil Dowd and David Ellis with music composed and conducted by Leap Stevens. Edmund O'Brien can soon be seen starring in the Columbia Pictures production 711 Ocean Drive. Featured in tonight's cast were Bob Griffin, Francis X. Bushman, Anthony Barrett, Martha Wentworth, Joe Duvall, Jack Crucian, and Ted DeCorsia. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is produced and directed by Jaime Del Valle. The makers of Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum hope you've enjoyed tonight's story of Johnny Dollar and that you're enjoying delicious Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum every day. We invite you to join us again next week at the same time when, from Hollywood, Edmund O'Brien returns in another adventure of...
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Bob Stevenson speaking. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
The room was dark except for a ray of moonlight coming through the window. I started reaching around for the light switch. Then I saw something glinting in the air. It was a knife blade that was headed straight for my throat. Adventures of Michael Shayne, Private Detective, starring Jeff Chandler. Michael Shayne, reckless, red-headed Irishman, is back again in his old haunts in New Orleans. This is your director, Bill Russo, inviting you to listen to another transcribed episode, which we call The Case of the Mail Order Murders.
Who is it?
Shayne, Mike Shayne.
Oh. Hello, Mr. Shayne. Come in quickly, please.
Yeah. Hey, look, what's all
Did anyone follow you here to my apartment, Mr. Shayne?
Follow me? Well, not that I know of. What's this all about, and why the hocus-pocus routine?
I can't afford to take any chances.
Oh? Can you afford to tell me what it's all about?
My name is Kinsella, William Kinsella.
Yeah, I know. You told me that over the phone.
You're sure no one followed you here?
Sure enough. Now, you're going to let me in on
I
what's
want to hire you, Mr. Shayne.
Well, that's the first thing you've said that makes sense. What do you want me to do?
Protect me.
Well, from what?
I don't know.
You don't know? Now, let's not start the double talk again.
Please, Mr. Shayne. Well, to tell the truth, I'm afraid. I'm afraid.
Yeah, I can see that, but what of?
I tell you, I don't know. Sure, it sounds insane, but here, Mr. Shayne, I received this through the mail this afternoon.
Yeah, 4 names at the top of the page.
Yes.
William Kinsella, Ellen Dant, Joshua Jaffet, and Tom Swigert.
Yes. Now, read what's written underneath the names, Mr. Shayne.
Those who have sinned will be punished. It may come swiftly or slowly or by an unknown hand, but punishment is inevitable, and the punishment is death.
Yes. Yes, you see now why I'm terrified. It's a death note, Mr. Shayne. A death note. And my name is at the top of the list.
In a moment, we'll return to the new adventures of Michael Shayne and the case of the mail order murders. It started out as a pretty routine day. I'd helped an elderly lady find a necklace which turned out to be mislaid instead of stolen, and I'd spent the afternoon at a pretty stuffy wedding reception guarding the gifts. But then in the evening, a jittery little guy named Kinsella called me over to his apartment and showed me a death note he'd just gotten, listing his name with 3 others. One look at Kinsella's face told me he thought the guy who'd sent the note meant business.
Mr. Shayne, you've got to protect me. Money's no object. First,
Now, just a minute, Mr. Kinsella. Let's slow down a little. Have you any idea who might have sent the note?
None. Not at all, Mr. Shayne. It's a complete and horrible mystery to me.
Sounds like some kind of fanatic or crank. Those who have sinned will be punished.
Yes, it does sound like some sort of fanatic, but who?
This the first notes you've gotten?
No, there have been others, but I never paid much attention before because the notes were vague. But this note mentions death, and it lists names.
Yeah. I wonder if the boy who wrote the note is after you himself or if he's thinking of sending someone.
What do you mean?
Well, the note says death may come by an unknown hand.
But that's the terrible part of this whole thing. I don't know who sent the threat. I don't know who's after me, and I most certainly don't know why.
The note says something about those who have sinned.
That's ridiculous. There's nothing, absolutely nothing in my past that would possibly warrant such
Yeah. Well, what do these friends of yours say about it?
Friends? What friends?
Well, the other names on the list here. Let's see. Ellen Dant, Joshua Jaffet, Tom Swigert.
They're no friends of mine.
Well, acquaintances, then.
You don't understand, Mr. Shayne. I don't even know these people.
Huh?
I've never heard of any of them. Their names mean nothing to me.
You sure about that, Mr. Kinsella?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that sort of complicates things. I thought maybe if I could find something to connect you with these other 3, some link between you, we might have something to go on. But...
Mr. Shayne, please stay here with me and protect me, at least long enough for me to wind up my affairs so that I can leave New Orleans if necessary.
Well,
I don't know what your usual rate of pay is per day, but I'll double it.
You know, you're getting more convincing by the moment, Mr. Kinsella.
I have plenty of room for you here.
Okay. I'll go home and pick up a toothbrush and be back here in an hour. I went outside and down the street. I was thinking about how terrified Kinsella seemed to be about the whole thing. And I was wondering if maybe he knew a little more about why someone wanted to kill him than he'd told me. And then about half a block away from Kinsella's apartment, I spotted what was undoubtedly one of the last of its kind in existence. An organ grinder man. He was a stocky, barrel-chested gent. And the hand organ he was cranking sounded as if it was protesting against overwork. On his shoulder perched a little monkey dressed in a red corduroy suit and a green hat with a feather. The whole sight took me back about 20 years. So I fished around in my pocket for a coin and waited for him. Hello? Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to scare you.
Well,
I guess you didn't see me. Sort of a dark night.
Yes, a darker night.
Oh, yeah. You know, I haven't seen an organ grinder since I was a kid, practically.
So? There's not many of us left now.
No, I guess not. You're working kind of late tonight, huh?
Night, day makes no difference.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Hey, it's a monkey you got there.
He's a fine monkey, Pepe. You want to see Pepe do dance?
No, I'm afraid I haven't the time.
Name is Demetrius.
Demetrius. Some other time. Oh, here's a little something.
You talk to Pepe, he catch.
Okay. Hey, he could play shortstop on a few teams I know of. Where'd you get it?
Must go now. Thanks, mister. Good night.
Demetrius started cranking the hand organ again and moved on down the street. Pepe turned around, stared at me a moment, and then delicately stuck out his tongue. Such gratitude. I went to my room, picked up my things, and went back to Kinsella's apartment. He showed me to my new room. I suggested he lock his door and also his window because it was a ground floor apartment. Then we both turned in. I guess it was a little after midnight when something woke me up. I couldn't tell just what it was, but I remembered vaguely hearing some kind of sound. I got out of bed and went out in the living room. Turned on the lights. Nothing there. Then I went to Kinsella's bedroom door. Mr. Kinsella? Mr. Kinsella? Hey, Kinsella!
What is it?
It's Shayne. Open the door.
What's the matter, Shayne?
You had me worried for a minute.
I guess I was sound asleep. What is it?
Something woke me up. A slight noise. I thought I'd better check to make sure you're okay.
Oh, yes, I'm all right. Matter of fact, I was having a very pleasant dream. I could hear some sort of strange music. It seemed like it was right under my window.
Music?
Yes, like a calliope. I could hear...
A calliope?
Oh, sort of.
Wait a minute. Could it have been a hand organ?
Why, yes, that's what it was. I dreamt
Maybe the music wasn't a dream. Demetrius really does work late.
Huh? What are you talking about?
Skip it. Well, let's turn in again. Nothing happened the rest of the night except that I had a long dream about perching on a guy's shoulder dressed in a red corduroy suit while people tossed nickels at me. Might be an easier way to make a living at that. The next morning, bright and early, I told Kinsella to lock himself in for the day. Then I went down to police headquarters and in the door marked homicide.
Hello, Shayne.
Good morning, Inspector. How's the mastermind of the Homicide Bureau these days?
Thanks. You looking for a job, Shayne, or you want to borrow some dough?
No. As you sometimes say, LaViva, wrong twice. I already have a job. Matter of fact, that's what I came down to talk to you about.
I'm all...
Ears. I know.
Talk, funny man.
I've been hired by a guy named Kinsella who received what looks like a crank note. He was taking the whole thing very seriously.
So
the note has 4 names on it, Kinsella. Ellen Dant, Joshua Jaffet, and Tom Swigert. May not be anything to it, but I just thought I'd drop in and let you know.
Have it again.
Have what again?
The list.
William Kinsella, Ellen Dant, Joshua Jaffet, and Tom Swigert.
Yeah.
Why, do you know any of them? Or how about Ellen Dant? Kinsella said her name meant nothing to him.
Or me.
How about Joshua Jaffe?
Mm-mm. And I've never heard of your client, Kinsella. Only one we have a line on is this Tom Swigert.
Swigert's his last name on the list. What about him?
Shayne, did you ever hear of the Gouge killing a couple of years back?
The Gouge killing? No. What was that?
Well, there was a rich old gent named Daniel Gouge. He used to live on the island of Capri in the Mediterranean. One day he turned up dead with quite a few thousand of his dollars missing. This guy, Tom Swigert, was on the island at the time. He was questioned about the killing, but he was released later for lack of evidence.
Do you think this note Kinsella got has anything to do with the Gouge killing?
I don't know yet.
Do you suppose maybe there's some connection between Swigert and the rest of the names on the list, then?
That'd be a guess, Shayne, and right now I'm not in a guessing mood.
Of course, the whole thing could be some crackpot's idea of a joke.
It might.
You don't think so, huh?
No.
Hey, incidentally, how come this Tom Swigert's the only guy on the list you know anything about? A friend of yours or something?
Not exactly a friend. Right now, he's sort of a special project of mine.
What do you mean?
We found Swigert down near the waterfront last night. Had a knife in his back. Very dead.
In a moment, we'll return to the new adventures of Michael Shayne and the case of the mail-order murders.
It all started when a guy named Kinsella hired me to protect him from an unknown killer who'd sent him a death threat. On the note were listed 4 names: Kinsella, Ellen Dant, Joshua Jaffe, and Tom Swigert. Kinsella said he didn't know any of the other 3. So the next morning, I wasn't sure just how seriously to take the note when I went down to police headquarters to tell Inspector Lefebvre about it. But Lefebvre took it very seriously, and with good reason. He told me that the last man on the list, Tom Swigert, had been murdered the night before.
So, like I say, Shayne, whoever wrote that note means business.
You know, Lefebvre, it'd be interesting if it turned out that the reason Swigert was killed had something to do with that Gouge killing.
I don't feel like playing guessing games.
Well, maybe we'll find out before long, huh?
Shayne, you're a real nice boy.
Lefebvre, there's only one reason you ever say those sweet things to me. That's when you want me to keep out of something.
Yeah.
Why?
Because whoever wrote that note wasn't kidding. He's vicious and deadly. He's already killed once, and there are 3 more names on his list.
So?
So if you get mixed up in it and get in his way, you could get burned bad.
Thanks for the advice, Lefebvre.
No charge.
Tell you what, I'll carry my little fire extinguisher with me full time.
You do that, Shayne. Just one more thing.
Oh, no, Lefebvre. You're not going to give me that don't leave town routine again.
I was going to suggest that you do.
That evening, I decided to pay a call on Ellen Dant, whose name was right under Kinsella's on the death list. I looked up her address and went over. Ellen lived in an expensive-looking apartment, and she was a very smooth-looking creature. She wasn't very impressed when I told her about the note Kinsella had gotten.
Mr. Shayne, I've never heard of this man Kinsella. Why should I be concerned about his getting threatening notes? I got one of them, too. But I think it's probably somebody's feeble idea of a joke.
Yeah, not much of a joke, Miss Dant. Kinsella says he doesn't know you.
That makes it mutual, then, as I've been trying to tell you.
How about a gent named Joshua Jaffe?
I'm afraid I don't know him either.
Or Tom Swigert?
Really, Mr. Shayne?
That's just as well you didn't know Swigert, I guess. He got himself killed last night.
Oh?
But that doesn't concern you.
No, it doesn't. Now, if you'll excuse me.
Sure, just one more thing, Miss Dant. Ever happen to hear of a rich old guy named Daniel Gouge?
Gouge?
Yeah, I used to live on the island of Capri.
Really, Mr. Shayne? Running around asking people about names they've never heard of before. Haven't you anything better to do?
Not right now, Ellen, but maybe I'll think of something. See you around. My next stop was at the home of Joshua Jaffe over on the other side of town. He was a tall, thin guy with thick glasses, a sharp nose, and a sharper tongue. He kept the nose buried in an enormous stamp album.
Mr. Shayne, must you stand in my light? I can't even see these stamps, let alone get them in the right place.
I'm sorry. Is that better?
A little.
Quite a collection you got there.
One of the best.
You seem to specialize in stamps from the Mediterranean.
Any law against that?
Not that I know of. Ever done much traveling around there?
None. Now, where did I put that Malta step? Now look here, Shayne.
I'm looking.
This is all foolishness, complete, utter foolishness. Just because I got a crackpot note from some pranks, there's no reason for you to come around and bother me with your silly questions. I've told you I don't know any of the people on the list. Now, if you kind...
Maybe I...
Mr. Shayne, will you stop standing in my light?
I got out of Joshua's light and out of his house. But outside, it occurred to me friend Joshua had been just a little too quick to say no when I asked him if he'd ever been in the Mediterranean. So I went across the street and waited in the dark. I didn't know exactly what I was waiting for, but I waited anyway. Then, about 10 minutes later, I heard someone coming down the street. Yeah, it was my old friend Demetrius, the organ grinder man. Hello, Demetrius.
Oh, it's you again.
Yeah. Hey, you really get around, don't you?
You maybe follow me, mister?
Me? No, matter of fact, I was beginning to wonder if it wasn't the other way around.
I don't know what you talk about.
Oh, no. Of course not. Where do you usually hang out around town?
The street they call St. Louis.
You, been in this country long, Demetrius?
No, not so long, mister.
Where do you come from?
It's a long way from here. Sunny land, blue water.
It sounds like the Mediterranean.
Yes, it's a beautiful place.
That's what they tell me, Demetrius.
Good night, mister.
Demetrius disappeared around the corner. I stood there a while longer across the street and up a little way from Jaffett's house. It was about 10 minutes later that a dark-colored coupe turned the corner and eased to a stop in front of the house. Someone got out and headed for the door. I couldn't see very much, but it looked like a woman. Then as she opened the door, the light from the hall outlined her face. It was Ellen Dance. Yeah, the girl who said she'd never heard of Joshua Jaffett. She closed the door behind her, but not more than 2 minutes later, she came flying out again and jumped into a car. I started across the street toward her. Hey, wait a minute. Ellen! Hey! But I was too late. I crossed the street and walked in the open front door of Jaffett's house. There was no one in sight. I started down the hall, and when I got to the library, I stopped. Yeah, there was Jaffett, all right. Sitting at his desk, his nose still buried in the stamp album. And like Tom Swigert, he had a knife in his back. And also like Swigert, Jaffett was dead. I stood there a minute or two looking at the charming sight in front of me, and then I went over and picked up the telephone.
Calling me, Shayne?
Lefevre.
Looks like the boy we're after is quite a knife artist, huh?
Yeah, but I'm not so sure he's a boy. You know, the more I think about it, Lefevre, the more it looks like these killings are tied up with the one over in Capri 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You found out any more about what really happened over there?
A little, not much. This rich old guy, Gouge, lived alone, except for one combination servant and secretary. Looks like now there were several in on the killing. Maybe it was a hired job, huh? Shayne, I told you once to get out of this deal. Now I'm telling you twice. I think you're biting off a lot more than you can chew.
You forget, Inspector. I have a real strong jaw.
Mm-hmm. Just be sure you don't lead with it.
Lefevre's boys arrived about then and went to work. I left, and I went straight to Ellen Dance's apartment. Because it looked to me like this case was going to wind up real fast, and I couldn't think of a better place to wind it up than at her apartment. I didn't even bother to knock because the door was unlocked. I pushed it open with my foot and waited. Nothing happened. I went in. The room was dark except for a ray of moonlight coming through the window. I started reaching around for a light switch. Then I saw something glinting in the air. It was a knife blade that was coming down at me fast. I lunged to one side, and the blade ripped down through my coat sleeve. I tried to grab it, but I was off balance, and then the knife came down through the air again, and this time it was headed straight for my throat.
We'll be back in a moment with a thrilling climax to tonight's Michael Shayne adventure.
Well, there I was in Ellen Dant's apartment, in the dark, with a knife coming down at my throat. I managed to get one hand up just in time to grab the knife blade. It cut into my palm, but I held on and grabbed the killer's wrist with my other hand. It was a small wrist, but strong. The knife started twisting up at me, so I put everything I had into one wrench and dove for the floor, twisting the killer's wrist as I fell. Suddenly, the knife went skittering across the floor. I jumped to my feet just as the door slammed. I went out in the hall, but whoever it was had been too fast for me. There was no one in sight out on the street when I got there. So I gave up the chase and headed for Kinsella's apartment. And I wasn't in a very pleasant mood. Look, Kinsella, I'm getting awfully tired of this whole deal.
But, Mr. Shayne,
You lied to me when you said you didn't know what this is all about.
Oh. All right, Mr. Shayne. It's true. I have lied to you. But you apparently know a lot of the story already. I might as well tell you the rest of it.
Spill it.
I was Daniel Gouge's secretary in Capri. He was murdered for his money. I found out who the killer was. I've been running away ever since. The killer has been following me and has had someone else after me. Someone I don't know.
Yeah? Why didn't you tell the police who the killer was?
I know I should have done that long ago, but I don't expect anyone to understand, but it was because of the way I felt about the killer. I couldn't help myself.
I see. Just one more question. Did Daniel Gouge have any particular girlfriend?
Yes, Mr. Shayne.
Okay. We're going to set a little trap. Here's a pencil. I want you to write a note to Gouge's girlfriend, Ellen Dant.
Mr. Shayne.
Tell her you'll turn her in unless she meets you on the corner in front of my office at midnight with some dough.
But I couldn't do that.
Look, I'll be there with you.
I wasn't thinking of myself. I just...
Look, you want to go on this way forever?
No, but...
Write it.
Very well. What are you going to do with it?
Gonna use it as bait. You're not exactly the world's best penman, are you?
I'm sorry. It's because I'm nervous and upset, I guess. I'm having a hard time forming the letters.
Yeah.
I'll write another note.
Oh, never mind. I think y'all won't be able to read this one all right. Okay, Kinsella, stay here in your apartment until 11:45, then take a cab to my office and meet me on the corner in front. I think maybe we'll get this whole thing wound up. I put the note in my pocket and left. I went over to St. Louis Street and hung around until Demetrius, the monkey organ man, came along. I made a little conversation with him and invited him to the party in front of my office. Then I called the Fever's office and left an invitation for him, too. I was hoping it'd be quite a gathering. Kinsella was the first to arrive, right on the dot at midnight.
Mr. Shayne.
Yeah, you're right on time, Kinsella.
Yes, I've been riding around in the cab for a few minutes, waiting until 12. Has she shown up?
Not yet. We'll just stand there in the shadows and wait.
Mr. Shayne, would it be all right if I sort of kept out of sight when she comes? I just would rather not see her after all that's happened and, well, because of the way I feel about her.
Yeah, I think that'd be okay, Kinsella.
I'd appreciate it very much. It isn't easy for me to do this. Mr. Shayne, someone's coming.
Relax, it isn't Ellen.
Shayne?
Hello, Lefevre.
I got your message. Now, what's this all about?
Just giving a little party, Lefevre. I knew you'd never forgive yourself if you missed it.
Mr. Shayne, who's this?
Lefevre, a friend of mine. Lefevre, this is Mr. Kinsella, my client.
Hello?
I'm afraid I don't understand this, Mr. Shayne. I thought just you and I were to be...
Wait a minute. Yeah, here he comes.
Here who comes?
The guest of honor. A guy named Demetrius.
Why, it's an organ grinder.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Shayne, do you think that he is working for Ellen?
Well, we'll soon find out. Hello, Demetrius.
Hello, mister.
This supposed to be the floor show, Shayne?
You never can tell, Lefevre.
Mr. Shayne, will you kindly explain? Mister.
Oh, what's the matter, Demetrius?
Who is this man with you?
He's my client, Mr. Kinsella. Why?
He is the one, mister. He is the one.
Huh?
Yes, he is the one I saw leave his apartment the night the first man was killed. Yes, this Kinsella.
Let's have that again.
Why, the man's insane. Yes, I saw him. And then when the second man was killed, I was near his house. I looked through the window. I saw this Kinsella stab him to death. I tell you, he's crazy. And then tonight, when you were at the woman's apartment, mister, this Kinsella was there too. He attacked you.
Kinsella's got a gun.
I see it, Lefevre. I see it. Oh. Well, I think that'll keep our friend Kinsella on ice until your voice can cut him away, Lefevre.
Yeah. So Kinsella was the knife artist, huh?
Sure looks that way. Now, if we only had the girl, we'd be...
She's been in jail for an hour, Shayne. We picked her up.
Oh? Did you get a story out of her?
Yeah. From what she said, it looks like she, Jaffet, and Swaggart hired a guy to kill Gouge over on Capri. The three of them then decided to cross the killer. They took the dough and left in a hurry. So now it turns out that Kinsella here was the killer, and he's been looking for them ever since.
That sounds logical. He put his own name on top of the death list to take suspicion off of him.
Well, all I can say is you're longer on luck than you're on brain, Shayne.
Oh?
Arranging this little trap to pick up the wrong girl. Plenty lucky for you this guy Demetrius spilled what he'd seen and broke the case for you.
I guess you're right, Lefevre.
Yeah, maybe next time you'll remember to keep out of these things.
I'll try to, sir.
Mister.
Oh, yeah, Demetrius. I'd almost forgotten you were here. Thanks. Thanks a lot for all your help.
Well, that's all right, mister.
Here's a little something for your trouble. No. Over here.
Thank you, mister. Thank you.
Demetrius didn't see that dough you held out to him.
No.
He's blind.
Mm-hmm. Demetrius is blind.
Shayne,
like you say, Lefevre, it's lucky he broke the case for me, isn't it? Good night, genius.
This is your director, Bill Russo, again. Our story is based on characters created by Brett Halliday and written by Bob Wright. The music is composed and conducted by John Duffy, and Michael Shayne is portrayed by Jeff Chen. The New Adventures of Michael Shayne is a Don W. Sharp production, transcribed in Hollywood and distributed exclusively by the Broadcasters Guild.
The Adventures of Sam Spade, Detective. Brought to you by Wild Root Cream Oil Hair Tonic, the non-alcoholic hair tonic that contains lanolin. Wild Root Cream Oil. Again and again, the choice of men who put good grooming first.
Sam Spade Detective Agency.
Hello, sweetheart. It's only me.
Oh, Sam. Why so modest?
Women, Effie. Age cannot weather nor custom stale their infinite variety.
Huh?
Against their incalculable wiles, mere man is a leaf in the wind.
Oh, Sam, do you really... Oh. Who was she and how windy was it?
Cyclonic, Effie. We had to close every window in the house.
But
If you will just contain your natural feminine curiosity for a few moments, I'll be right down to dictate my report on the bow window caper.
Dashiell Hammett, America's leading detective fiction writer and creator of Sam Spade, the hard-boiled private eye, and William Spear, radio's outstanding producer-director of mystery and crime drama, join their talents to make your hair stand on end with the Adventures of Sam Spade. Presented by the makers of Wild Root Cream Oil for the hair. To every man who says, I don't use a hair tonic or I don't believe in a hair tonic, I say this. Decide for yourself, but don't decide until you've tried Wild Root Cream Oil, the entirely different hair tonic. There's not a drop of alcohol in Wild Root Cream Oil, and it contains soothing lanolin. What's more, it grooms your hair the right way, neatly and naturally. So get the big economy-size bottle and the handy new tube at your drug or toilet goods counter. Wild Root Cream Oil Hair Tonic. Again and again, the choice of men who put good grooming first. And now, with Howard Duff starring as Spade, Wild Root brings to the air the greatest private detective of them all in The Adventures of Sam Spade.
Bow window.
Hmm?
A bow window.
Bow window is a bay window that you look into instead of out of.
Look into instead of out. Oh. Oh, Sam.
Get your book, Panther Girl, and slink on in.
What was she trying to see through the bow window?
Hmm?
I mean, whose house was it?
Her own.
But if it was her own house, then why would she
It just goes to show you, darling, what some women will stoop to.
It does?
Mm-hmm. There was a low window.
Oh. Well, whenever you're ready, Sam.
Date November 10.
9th.
9th. Correct. 1947. To Dr. Helmut Ries.
I was right for once.
Yeah. From Samuel Spade, license number 137596. Subject, the bow window caper. Dear Dr. Ries, I know that this report will not make pleasant reading for you, but you paid for it, so here it is. As far as I was concerned, it all started on Thursday morning when you called at my office. From your story, I gathered it had been going on for some time.
You will say these are merely the actions of a jealous woman, Mr. Spade. But I assure you there's more to it than that. It must be a carefully thought-out plan to ruin my career, my whole life.
In what way, Dr. Reese?
She spies on my private consultations, insults my women patients. I can no longer even keep a nurse for more than a week at a time. Scenes, hysterics, outbursts of violence. I cannot continue my work under such conditions.
Well, why don't you give her a divorce?
Why, no. This is not her desire. If it were, it would be simple. No, she wants to bring me to ruin. She wants to see me on my knees in front of the public.
Why?
That is what I want to find out. Why?
Doctor, I think you ought to take this case to a head doctor.
I have consulted a psychiatrist. He examined her. She's perfectly competent mentally. So you see, there's here already some mystery, for which one comes to a detective.
How long has this been going on, Dr. Reese?
Since 3 months only. But in this time, she has reduced me to utter desolation.
Dr. Reese was a very good divorce lawyer right down the hall from my office.
No. I discussed the matter of a divorce with her a few days back. This was her answer. You see, a receipt for the purchase of a gun. And this note in her handwriting.
I hope you will not force me to use this. Esther.
Yes.
What do you think she has in mind? Murder or suicide?
She refused to discuss it. But one thing I have noticed. Since she has bought this gun, a new development. A strange man watches my house. Several times I have caught him following.
Well, she might have hired a detective to check on whether you visit a lawyer.
Perhaps it is very simple, but it is all too strange to be harmless.
I half-heartedly agreed that it might be, Dr. Reese, and when your check for $100 didn't bounce, I went to work wholeheartedly. I reached your house on Pacific Avenue just as the streetlights were going on. It's a quiet neighborhood, so I could hear it before I got close enough to read the number on the door.
Get out! Get out of this house! Get out! You have no...
They seemed to be slugging their way toward the back of the house, so I decided to risk an entrance. I found the doorbell, and I was about to punch it when I caught sight of your mystery man. He was crouched in a clump of shrubbery that grew under the bow window at the corner of the house. He was still there with his eyes glued to the window when I walked up behind him.
Hey, let go of me. Let go.
Come on, you're going inside.
Listen, I'm not just a snooper.
I didn't say you were. I'm just inviting you inside for a better look.
Now, I'm warning you, if you don't let go of me,
Stop squirming, will you? Go! The kick he landed on me wasn't according to the Wrestling Association's rules, but I let him get away with it mainly because I couldn't move for 3 or 4 minutes, and by that time he disappeared down the street. When I recovered my faculties and staggered back to the door, I didn't bother ringing the bell. I just walked in. The hen fight was still going on somewhere in the upper reaches of the house. Then a door burst open on the upper landing, and a girl in a nurse's uniform ran down the stairs toward me, pursued by a pale little woman with a pinched face who was brandishing a pair of brass fire tongs. You brushed past me, Dr. Reese, and headed off the pursuer.
Esther, stop it! Stop it at once! Have you gone crazy? Give me those fire tongs. Give them to me.
What's the matter, Helmut? Afraid I'll mar your light of love's beauty?
What started this?
I caught her creeping about the kitchen. She's going to poison my food.
Explain to you, Mrs. Reese. The doctor...
Oh, don't bother explaining, Miss Robbins. These morbid fancies of hers.
Don't think I don't know what goes on in that office. That office when I'm not allowed anymore.
That's only because you make the patient so nervous, Esther.
I know what goes on. You and those women.
That will do, Esther. Go to your room.
Very well. But I won't have that woman in this house another day, Helmut. Is that understood?
Go to your room, Esther.
I'm going. But remember what I said. I warned you both.
There, Miss Robbins. Now don't. There.
I can't stand any more, Doctor. I tell you, it's making me a nervous wreck. I just...
Dr. Reese.
Huh? Oh, Mr. Spade. You saw, you heard?
Yeah.
Come into my office. We'll talk.
I think we'd better.
Doctor, there's still one more patient waiting to see you, Doctor.
Well, have her wait a little longer. This way, Mr. Spade.
How much longer?
Well, the doctor will see you just as soon as he possibly can. Have you been feeling any better, Mrs. Campbell?
Sit down, Mr. Spade.
Thanks, but I can say what I have to say standing. Your wife's a very tragic woman, Doctor. I wish I could help her. I wish I could help you, too, but I can't.
You heard her threat against Miss Robbins. Was that a joke?
There's nothing funny about jealousy.
But there is this man who watches the house. And the gun she bought.
I collared him outside just now.
Oh, well, did you get him to talk?
No, but I wouldn't worry about him if I were you. And about that gun. The Constitution says every citizen shall have the right to bear arms. Even Parnell Thomas can't do it.
Mr. Spade, I've not yet told you all. If I...
Oh, Doctor, I'm sorry
Yes.
to interrupt, but this patient, she's been waiting for more than an hour.
Well, who is she?
Mrs. Kavanaugh.
Kavanaugh? Who? Well, has she been here before?
Of course, last week. Here's her card.
Oh, yes. I'd better get it over. Send her in.
Yes, Doctor, and Doctor, I'm resigning. I'll finish the day, of course, and then I'm through. I'm sorry.
Yes, well, very well, Miss Robbins. I can't say that I blame you. Good luck.
Goodbye, Doctor.
Well, I'll be going along myself now, Doctor.
No. You must hear me out, Mr. Spade. I've not yet told all. If you'll just wait until I have seen this patient, please, Mr. Spade, please.
Okay, I'll wait outside.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
I beg yours.
Come on in.
So, you're leaving the doctor's employ, nurse?
I am. Well, Mr. Spade, how does it look from the grandstand?
Messy?
Mm-hmm. You don't mind if I finish cleaning out his desk?
Go right ahead.
Thank you.
What's the matter with Esther, anyway?
I could sum the whole thing up in a single 5-letter word, shall I?
You have.
Are you going to walk out on him?
Aren't you?
Yes, I am. Oh, but Esther isn't jealous of your type, if you don't mind my mentioning it.
I feel heartened to think that you noticed I was different.
Oh, I did, Mr. Spade. I really did.
You don't seem particularly nursey to me, either.
I'm not. My, you have a fast pulse, Mr. Spade.
Yes, I've been feeling very weak the last few minutes. I need care.
Oh, you don't eat enough apples, Mr. Spade. Well, I guess I finished. Oh, there's that old compact. I wonder... Mr. Spade, will you tell the doctor I've left and thank him for me again?
Aren't you going to see him before you go?
No, I'm not. He'd only begged me to stay, and it's simply out of the question. Oh, the poor guy. I just don't know what I'd do if I were in his place. For you, Mr. Spade.
I did, and I told her. She told me I was a victim of hypertension and left me with my mouth open and no thermometer in it. 5 minutes after she'd gone out through the front entrance, your wife came down the stairs, looking knowingly at me and the door to the doctor's office, and left by the same route. 10 minutes after that, I was halfway through a 1937 National Geographic that was the latest edition on the waiting room table, and had reached the third paragraph on the natural beauties of Winona County, Minnesota. But I never finished it.
I will be back in a minute.
The first thing I saw when I entered the room was Mrs. Cavanaugh, your patient.
Why didn't he do it?
You, Doctor, were standing over her, nervously twitching off the rubber glove from your right hand. You tested her throat for pulse, then listened through a stethoscope. It was purely a formality. One of the .38 caliber slugs had entered the right temple. The other had torn through the base of the skull. How did it happen?
I don't know. I had completed the examination and walked over there to put my instruments away. When I turned back, she had a gun in her hand. Before I could stop her, she pulled the trigger. Suicide, of course.
Why?
Well, I just told her the truth, that there was nothing I or any other doctor could do for her. That she had perhaps a month, perhaps less. She had suffered great pain, of course, for some time.
Uh-huh. You saw her shoot herself, you say?
Yes. The gun, she took it out of my desk drawer. I'd removed it from my wife's room earlier today.
I see. Well, Doctor, this is the neatest suicide I ever saw. No powder burns, and from the way she's lying, she must have shot herself from the direction of that window, at least 10 feet away. She screamed before the shots were fired and had time to fire a second bullet into her head and throw the gun across the room before she fell.
Well, Helmut, at last it's happened, hasn't it?
Esther, leave this room.
I told Helmut one of the husbands would catch up with him.
Pretty, wasn't she? I don't remember this one.
The expression on your face might have been horror or fear or both, Dr. Reese. But your wife was smiling. When my eyes left her face, I noticed a leaf clinging to the hem of her coat. It might have come from the shrub that grew up against the house. And her shoes were splotched with mud that could have and probably did come from the cultivated flower bed just outside the bow window.
The makers of Wild Root Cream Oil are presenting the weekly Sunday adventure of Dashiell Hammett's famous private detective, Sam Spade. Now, here's important news on good grooming. Better than 4 out of 5 users of Wild Root Cream Oil say they prefer Wild Root Cream Oil to all other hair tonics. Here is new and even more conclusive evidence that Wild Root Cream Oil is again and again the choice of men who put good grooming first. So if you want the well-groomed look that helps you get ahead socially and on the job, listen. Recently, thousands of people from coast to coast who bought Wild Root Cream Oil for the first time were asked, how does Wild Root Cream Oil compare with the hair tonic you previously used? The results were amazing. Better than 4 out of 5 who replied said they preferred Wild Root Cream Oil. And no wonder. It gives you the advantages that men consider most important. Wild Root Cream Oil grooms your hair neatly and naturally, relieves annoying dryness, and removes loose dandruff. What's more, non-alcoholic Wild Root Cream Oil is the only leading hair tonic that contains soothing lanolin. That's like the oil of your skin. So ask for Wild Root Cream Oil. Again and again, the choice of men who put good grooming first. And now, back to the bow window caper. Tonight's adventure with Sam Spade.
Obviously, there were 2 equally good suspects in the Cavanaugh murder. Either your wife had killed her in a jealous rage, or you'd killed her with your wife's gun to frame her for the murder. I decided to let the police worry it out and went home to bed. The morning headlines were a bit of a surprise. Nurse sought in shooting of mystery woman. Item. The cops had found Celeste Robbins' fingerprints all over the murder gun. And item. Mrs. Cavanaugh, the murdered woman, had given a vacant lot as her address, and her body was lying unclaimed at the morgue. I decided to pay her a visit. Maxie, hey, Maxie.
What? Oh, Sam. Sammy, Hey, my boy. Hey, it's good to look on you.
How are you, Maxwell?
Oh, fine, fine. What brings you here, Sam?
The Kavanaugh woman.
The Kavanaugh, huh? Let's see who's with us today. Stiftel, Milton, Schwartz, Kelly. I knew him. Nice guy. Feige. Kavanaugh. Rose. Hello, Rose. Hey, Sam, don't you want to look at Rose?
No, I've seen her.
Yeah, just checked her back in. Autopsy. Say, you do collect queer ones, Sam. Now, you take her. Why would anybody in the world knock her off? In her condition, all he needed to do was wait. A month. Couple of weeks.
Bad as that, huh?
Worse.
Anybody claim her yet?
Well, they... Hello. Something we can do for you?
My name is Kavanaugh. I've come for my wife.
He was standing with his back to me, and I didn't get a good look at his face until he walked over to the desk with Masker. The voice tipped me even before I saw the face. It was the man I'd caught outside your office window less than half an hour before the murder. If he recognized me, he didn't let it show. I waited while he went in with Maxie. When he came out, there were tears streaming down his face. I'd been waiting for two reasons. I had some questions to ask him, and I had wanted to pay back that jolt he'd given me the night before. I left without doing either.
Hello, Sam.
Oh, sweetheart. Any calls?
Lieutenant Dundee of Homicide,
Yeah.
Dr. Reese,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a girl waiting inside. Wouldn't give any names.
So you let her wait in my private office.
Well, I don't think you'll mind when you've seen her. She's by way of being a knockout.
Well, thank you, Effie. That was very thoughtful of you, dear.
You're welcome, Sam.
Sam, please don't be angry with me for coming here. I had to talk to somebody.
What you need is a good criminal lawyer, Nurse Robin.
Oh, no. Do you think I killed that woman?
How did your prince get on that gun? And don't tell me she threatened you with it and you grabbed it out of her hand.
No, I didn't. I did nothing at all.
Take it easy, Nurse. Take it easy. Would you like a drink or something?
No. Thank you anyway. I'll be all right. Well, she came in from shopping 3 days ago. Just as nice as pie. And she came creeping around. You know how she is. And she said, I bought something today. It's lovely. And with that, she hauled this gun out of her handbag. And so, to humor her, I took it and I looked at it. That was foolish.
It certainly was foolish.
Well, nickel-plated, ideal surface for fingerprints. And I remember she was wearing gloves. Struck me as peculiar at the time, but I'm so stupid. I didn't think of it until just now.
Everything's a little peculiar about this caper. A woman who was dying anyway gets shot. Nobody even seems to know who she was. Doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make much sense. But what should I do, Sam? Give myself up?
I think you should.
Yes, I thought you'd say that. All right, phone the police.
You got a lot of courage. Sure you don't want to drink?
No, thank you. I'll be all right. I'll be all right.
Homicide. Dundee.
Dundee, Sam Spade. I got the Robbins girl here in my office. She wants to check in.
Oh? Well, tell her to forget it, Sam. Reese's wife just made a full confession.
That tore it. In my anxiety to see how you were bearing up under the shock, Doctor, I blew $1.50 of your money on a taxi all the way out to your address on Pacific Avenue. To my astonishment, you were wearing a look of real distress.
I don't understand it, Mr. Spade. This confessing, it's not like her. It's all too strange to be harmless.
Dr. Reed, I'd like to talk to you alone. Do you mind, Mr. Spade?
Go right ahead. I strained my ears outside your consulting room, but all I could hear was a few vague murmurs. Then, for no good reason, I decided to have a look at your wife's bedroom upstairs. The cops had been there before me, so I didn't expect to find much, and I didn't. I was tapping the woodwork for secret panels or something when I heard a heavy tread on the stairway. I wheeled around, my hands inside my coat. A jolly-looking character in coveralls was standing in the doorway.
Home Electronics.
I beg your pardon?
Hagen, Home Electronics. I come to take the equipment.
What equipment?
The dictograph. She don't need it no more. Ask me, she heard too much.
Mrs. Reese had a dictograph installed?
Yeah, a rental type installation. This here's a speaker. My own design. Looks like a portable radio, don't it?
Yeah, where's the other end? Where's the microphone?
It's in the doc's private office. You interested, eh?
Yeah, turn it on, will you?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we'll get it tuned in a minute here. And... Oh, feedback. Wait a minute. I'll fix it.
Let her talk. Let her talk. What can she tell?
I don't know. But it's uncanny the way she knew
Nice, huh?
things. Every word we spoke together.
That's because of the dictograph. Neat rig, huh?
Shut up.
We cannot allow this terrible tragedy to come between us. We love each other. Nothing can change that.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that's as nice, ain't it?
Quiet.
I just know, please don't. Now, stop it, Helmut. I don't want you. Please, don't.
What is it, Celeste? What has happened to Shayne?
What has happened? You asked that. When I've been attacked by a mad woman and accused of murder, all in the space of 12 hours.
But it's all over now.
Just so, Helmut. Yes, it's all over.
Hey, can't you turn it up a little more?
Oh, sure. Turn it up.
Hold it.
Over. It's over. And I'm very, very ashamed. I suppose it was my usual thing. I always get sorry for a poor, weak man and get involved. But this time, I'm sorry for her.
Celeste, please.
When I was a kid, I liked it. It used to make me feel powerful and, well, to watch them squirm. But it's no fun anymore watching another woman in the agonies of jealousy. And you, I thought you were just weak. You're a brutal, unscrupulous murderer.
What are you saying, Celeste?
You killed Mrs. Cavanaugh.
Why, that's impossible.
You stood deliberately in that window and you fired 2 shots right at
Hey, what gives you?
Why weren't my
Rehearsed them by
fingerprints
yourself?
on that gun?
Because you were wearing your rubber gloves, Doctor.
Celeste, don't say any more.
No.
Here, help me. Help me get his shirt off, Mr. Spade. He's been shot.
Who shot him, you?
Through the window, the same man, the one who watched the house.
Hold this tourniquet tight, please.
Nothing. A flesh wound. His aim was bad.
Yeah, too bad. Kavanaugh, you still out there? You got nothing to worry about. He's still alive.
I missed him.
Give me a hand. Come on. That's it.
I missed him.
That was lucky. You're taking the rap for your wife's murder, too, if you're a better shot.
He did it. He killed my wife. I was at the window. I saw him. What I don't understand is why his wife confessed.
She loves him, Mr. Cavanaugh. You should understand that.
I guess that's what happens to love when it gets crossed up. Why didn't you tell the police what you saw?
They'd have hung it on me. She was a stranger to everyone else. I'd been quarreling with her, suspicious, acting like a maniac. She never told me. She must have been going to one doctor after another, trying to find one that would give her one ray of hope. In pain all the time, too, and never letting on. Never. Even after that first visit she made to Reese's office, I didn't tumble. I thought she was meeting him on the sly. And I followed her both times. That last time I carried a gun. I might have killed her if what I suspected had been true.
I'm very sorry, Mr. Cavanaugh. I didn't realize.
You're pretty late with your regrets, Doctor. I don't quite figure you either. Maybe the prison psychiatrist can.
Dundee homicide.
Dundee, tear up Mrs. Reese's confession. Come on over and get the doctor.
Dr. Reese?
Yeah. By the way, he accidentally shot himself in the arm. Isn't that right, Doctor?
What? Oh, yes. Accident.
Why didn't she tell me? Why didn't she tell me?
I don't know, Kavanaugh. Women. Sometimes they make too much sense, or we don't make enough, or maybe we're all crazy. And that, Dr. Reese, is the crop. At the risk of laboring a point, there's also the mystery of why a nice girl like Celeste Robbins ever fell for a guy like you. You'll have plenty of free time to think it over between now and the trial. If you find the answer, drop me a line. Period, and a report.
You know, Sam, that's Celeste. I like her. I wish we could do something for her.
Well, I've already thought of that, Evie.
Oh? What are you going to do, Sam?
Type that up, sweetheart, and I'll write you a happy ending.
Here's how you can find out whether the hair tonic you're using today is giving you what you ought to get in good grooming. Ask yourself, does my present hair tonic groom my hair neatly and naturally, or does it leave my hair sticky or greasy? And does it relieve dryness and remove loose dandruff, too? Or does it do just a halfway job? Unless you can honestly say that your present hair tonic does all that for your hair, you owe it to yourself to try Wild Root Cream Oil right away. Try Wild Root Cream Oil and see for yourself how it improves your appearance, grooms your hair neatly and naturally, relieves dryness, and removes loose dandruff. It's non-alcoholic and contains soothing lanolin. Get the big economy size bottle and the handy new tube that's easy to pack when you travel and grand for the bathroom cabinet. Don't delay. Get it today. Wild Root Cream Oil Hair Tonic. Again and again, the choice of men who put good grooming first.
Oh, here's the report, Sam. You want to read it over?
I do not. File it under F for forget.
About that poor Celeste, Sam.
Oh, yeah. Well, I made a date with Celeste to take her dancing tomorrow night. She needs cheering up, you know.
Oh, what for?
Well, you said she needed help.
Well, that isn't exactly the kind of help I had in mind.
Oh.
I don't see why it's necessary
Effie,
to take...
we must each of us give a particular kind of help each of us is particularly equipped to give.
Very well. She wished to... She used to make over men just to get the other women jealous.
That she did. Aren't other women silly to allow themselves to get jealous when they know just what she's up to?
Idiotic. Just idiotic.
Sure thing. And go home, Effie. I'm a lousy dancer.
Oh, very well. Have fun, Sam. Good night, Sam.
Good night, sweetheart.
The Adventures of Sam Spade, Dashiell Hammett's famous private detective, are produced and directed by William Spear. Sam Spade is played by Howard Duff. Lorene Tuttle is Effie. The Adventures of Sam Spade are written for radio by Bob Tallman and Gil Dowd, with musical direction by Lud Gluskin. This is Dick Joy, reminding you that next Sunday, author Dashiell Hammett and producer William Spear join forces for another adventure with Sam Spade, brought to you by Wild Root Cream Oil. Again and again, the choice of men who put good grooming first. Smart girls use Wild Root Cream Oil, too, for quick, good grooming and to relieve dryness between permanents. Mothers say it's grand for training children's hair. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.